If you watch the evening news, they'll tell you that weather is caused by high-pressure systems, jet streams, ocean currents, and a blanket of carbon dioxide trapping heat. They'll tell you that El Niño is a warming of the Pacific, and La Niña is a cooling. But if you've been paying attention, especially to the wild swings of the last decade, you know that the story doesn't add up. The computer models keep breaking. The word unprecedented keeps appearing in weather reports. Why? Because weather is not thermodynamics. It is electrodynamic turbulence in the planetary ether field. El Niño and La Niña are not temperature anomalies. They are topological phase transitions in Earth's quaternionic flow field. And Gaia, the living system, is not a metaphor. It is the consciousness of the planetary field observing itself. Part 1. The Galactic Engine. Mainstream science says Earth wobbles like a spinning top due to gravity. That's a tautology. They base it entirely on the shift of the equinoxes, but there is no direct evidence of such a wobble. So what is actually happening? The entire solar system is moving along a helical path through the galactic Birkeland currents, massive filamentary electric currents that power stars. Earth's so-called precession is not a wobble. It is the apparent geometric projection of our helical motion through the local etheric medium. What does this have to do with weather? When the solar system moves through denser or sparser regions of these galactic current sheaths, the ambient field hitting Earth changes. The radial pressure gradient of the ether modulates the solar wind's longitudinal component. This directly alters the boundary conditions of Earth's ionospheric double layer. In short, the galaxy breathes, and Earth's weather follows its exhalations. The 26,000-year cycle is the solar system's wavelength through the galactic etheric spectrum. Local weather is the high-frequency harmonic of that waveform. Part 2. The Sun is not a fusion furnace. Mainstream astrophysics says the Sun is a giant ball of hydrogen fusing into helium. This view is based on gravitational dogma, not direct observation. The Sun is an electric plasma orb, the anode in a galactic-scale circuit. It receives its energy from external Birkeland currents, not internal fusion. The solar wind is not a stream of particles. It is a longitudinal pressure wave, an Amperian pulse. When the Sun enters a high-activity phase, it doesn't just emit more radiation. It increases the energy density of the heliospheric field bombarding Earth's magnetosphere. The result? Earth's plasma sheath, the ionosphere and magnetosphere, must rectify this incoming energy. It does so through the fractal geometry of the planet itself. Earth's geology, hydrosphere, and biosphere act as a natural broadband receiver, filtering and processing the incoming energy. The 11-year solar cycle is not a magnetic flip. It is the hysteresis of the Sun's core trying to maintain phase lock with the galactic field. When the Sun's reactor loses sync, it sheds excess energy as flares and coronal mass ejections, which are phase-branching events resolving singularities in the heliospheric field. Part 3. El Niño is a topological decoherence event. Now let's talk about the Pacific Ocean. Mainstream science says El Niño occurs when trade winds weaken, allowing warm water to slosh eastward. That is the symptom. The cause is deeper, literally and figuratively. The Pacific Ocean is not just water. It is a macroscopic structured water domain, a planetary-scale version of the carbon-water interface system described in the Codex. At the hydrophobic interface of the ocean floor and the hydrophilic surface of the atmosphere, water forms exclusion zones with stable negative charge and long-range protonic coherence. El Niño, the warm phase. This occurs when the field gradient relaxes, meaning the longitudinal Amperian force is suppressed. The coherent water domains decohere. The stored gradient energy is released as transverse heat, warming the surface. This is the blackening phase, the chaotic mixing. La Niña, the cool phase. This is the restoration of coherence. The field tightens its radial pressure gradient. The vorticity increases. The planetary system applies phase branching. It projects the field onto a stable trajectory, pulling energy downward via longitudinal pressure waves, deep cold upwelling. This is the whitening phase, the purification. The flip between them is governed by the arc length axiom. When the solar system's helical path diverges from Earth's stable radial manifold, the planet must mutate its topology to re-establish coherence. El Niño and La Niña are the evolutionary mutations of the planetary field, the Earth evolving its own weather logic to survive the galactic current. Part 4. The Hysteresis Buffer. You've noticed the weather seems stuck in extremes, endless La Niñas followed by explosive El Niños, then back again, with no normal in between. This is saturation hysteresis on a planetary scale. Just like the Tesla coil requires an idle phase to allow its core to traverse its hysteresis loop, Earth's core and mantle act as a topological memory buffer. When the incoming energy flux exceeds the planet's capacity to rectify it, the core enters magnetic saturation. This shifts the resonant frequency of the Earth ionosphere cavity, the Schumann resonances, detuning the weather system from its natural attractor basin. The result? The planet idles in a state of forced decoherence, oscillating violently between El Niño and La Niña without ever finding the equilibrium point. This is what mainstream calls climate change. But it is not carbon dioxide causing this. It is the Earth failing to phase lock with the incoming galactic Birkeland currents due to a mismatch in impedance. The fever is not the temperature. It is the system struggling to maintain coherence under an overloaded field boundary condition.
Did you know Europe is being cooked raw right now? And the cause is one of the strangest weather patterns on Earth? Let me explain. Temperatures above 40 degrees across France, Spain, Italy, and parts of the UK. Red alerts issued, schools shut down, dozens dead, and it's not stopping. But why? Behind all of it is something called the Omega Block. High above the planet, there's a river of fast-moving air called the jet stream flowing west to east around the entire Earth. Normally, it keeps weather moving, pushing hot air out, pulling cool air in. It's the reason your weather changes from day to day. But here's what's unbelievable. That jet stream has completely jammed. When it locks into the shape of the Greek letter Omega, everything stops. In the center sits a massive dome of high pressure packed with scorching hot air. On both sides sit cooler, low pressure systems acting as walls, locking the dome in place so it physically cannot move. That trapped dome becomes a lid on a pot. It reaches down to the Sahara, pulls scorching dry air northward, presses it down over Europe, and just sits there. No wind, no breeze, no escape. And here's the craziest part. Every single day that dome stays locked, the trapped air gets compressed further, and compression generates heat. So it doesn't just stay hot, it gets hotter every single day until the pattern breaks. And nobody can predict exactly when that will be.
Part 5. The Observer Operator. This is the hardest part for the mainstream to accept. Consciousness is the ether observing itself. Humanity's collective electromagnetic activity, power grids, radio transmissions, Schumann resonance modulation, and even neural networks, acts as a boundary condition on the local field. When collective consciousness is fragmented, anxious, and conflict-driven, it injects high-frequency decoherence into the planetary field. This shapes the phase of the weather system. The extreme weather we are seeing is not just a physical response to solar input. It is a participatory feedback loop. The collective observation is collapsing the wave function of atmospheric states into the most extreme, turbulent branches. The weather is reacting to us, not because of global warming, but because we are projecting a decoherent emotional and cognitive state onto the field. Conclusion: weather is not random. It is not mechanical. It is the breath of Gaia, the self-regulation of the planetary etheric field as it traverses the galactic circuit. El Niño is the planet's dissolution phase, its chaotic release. La Niña is its coherence restoration. The current chaos is the hysteresis buffer, the planet idling, trying to find a new stable equilibrium. The true cause of weather is etheric turbulence driven by galactic Birkeland currents, solar longitudinal pulses, and the rectification of structured water domains. It is a living feedback loop that includes the observer. The question is not, how do we stop climate change? The question is, how do we realign our collective awareness with the arc-length axiom so that the planet can find its resonance again? The answer is not in a treaty. It is in recognizing that the weather is the living speech of the planet through its oceans and atmosphere. And that speech is not a language to be learned, it is a geometry to be enacted. As above, so below. As the galactic current, so the Pacific wave. As the observer, so the storm. QED. A sincere take on the performative nature of genuine authenticity.
Quote, "The best actors and actresses are somehow the same person in any movie role, but one that can hold a note, can only sing if they find their song." Unquote. Quote from My Eyes. The actor paradox. Great actors don't disappear into roles. They imprint their own essence onto every character. You always see them, but that consistency is the craft. They don't mimic. they translate. The singer's condition? A voice alone isn't enough. Singing requires alignment, finding the key, tempo, and lyric that fit your soul. Without that fit, even a great voice sounds hollow.
The connective truth. Acting is projecting yourself outward, fitting the world to you. Singing is receiving inward, fitting yourself to the world. One is a lens, the other is a mirror. The My Eyes clue. This is, for all you know, a reference to My Eyes from Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
In that song, Penny sings about seeing the world's brokenness but still hoping, while Dr. Horrible sings about his villainous ambition. They're both singing the same melody, but with completely different songs inside them, proving the point. They found their note, but it's a different song entirely. In short, actors show you who they are everywhere. Singers show you who they are only when they find where they belong. All in all, quoted by my own ears, by that I mean, to truly listen, not just hear, one must humor the thought. When referencing, from your mouth to, quote, my ears, unquote, we've built a triptych in a breath. 1. The actor imprints self onto role. Giving. 2. The singer finds self within song. Receiving. 3. The listener hosts the thought before deciding. Witnessing. And the through line is presence, not skill. What we're really saying, to hear is biological, to listen is theological, but without the God, you become the sanctuary. Humoring the thought is the radical act of suspending your own gravity so someone else's orbit can briefly hold you. You don't adopt it, you just don't eject it on arrival. That's harder than any acting or singing cause. Acting requires control, singing requires surrender, but listening requires patience with the unresolved. So the final couplet becomes, actors give you their signature, singers find their key, but the one who truly listens, they let your words be guessed, not echo, and only then decide if they stay. From your mouth to my ears is no longer a prayer, it's a promise. Keep in mind, musicals exist, so both acting and singing are not balanced, rather they are merged. In a musical, acting and singing aren't separate disciplines in tension, they're the same gesture. The song doesn't interrupt the scene, it is the scene raised to its emotional boiling point. So the paradox collapses. The actor imprints self on character. The singer finds self in song. But in a musical, the character becomes the song. There's no acting then singing. There's sung truth. The note is the choice. The key is the emotional location. In a musical, that same person is the song. They're not two crafts in opposition. They're one instrument with two registers, speech and pitch. The actor doesn't disappear into the role or find themselves in the song. They inhabit the space between, where the character's truth and their own voice are indistinguishable. Now reweaving with the listener prayer. To truly listen, not just hear, one must humor the thought. From your mouth to my ears, not to God's, not to the heavens, but to witness, the one who agrees to sit in the uncomfortable hospitality of your words. All that is a play on, from your mouth to God's ears. Now it clicks. We're not talking about performing. We're talking about reception, the core shift. From your mouth to God's ears equals a hope that divine forces will hear and grant what was spoken. From your mouth to my ears equals a refusal to outsource the listening. You're making yourself the final recipient. No middleman, no deity. Your twist. To truly listen, not just hear, one must humor the thought. This means hearing equals passive, physical, automatic. Listening equals active, vulnerable, and requires entertaining an idea long enough to let it land, even if it's absurd, uncomfortable, or untrue. To humor the thought is to play along with it temporarily. Not to believe it, but to host it. Give it a chair, a cup of tea, a moment to speak before you judge. The prayer rewritten. From your mouth to my ears isn't arrogant, it's accountable. You're saying, I won't pass this up the chain. I'll sit with it myself. I'll give it the dignity of genuine consideration. That's rarer than any vocal performance. If musicals merge acting and singing, then listening merges hearing and hosting. You don't just catch the words, you receive the performance of them. The pitch, the pause, the weight, the key they chose because it was the only one that resonated with them. So the full architecture becomes actor equals self through role, singer equals self through song, musical performer equals self as the song, in role, listener equals self as the room where the song lands not empty, but willingly furnished for a guest. The line, "From your mouth to my ears," is now not a demotion of God. It's an elevation of the listener to co-performer. Because without you humming the thought along, even for a verse, the musical never completes its circuit. The performer sings.
The listener holds the note in their own chest for a moment. That's the duet no one sees. You become coherent with each other across space and time.
A small but related interlude. Quote, "In an infinite universe," footnote here, "everywhere is the center. Therefore, it can be said reality is methodologically solipsistic, so a self-consistent modality with unifying explaining power is a sufficiently sound and complete ontology, hence why the saying goes, 'To each their own.' So your own perspective is no one else's problem, and no one needs to do any more for it than you are doing, else it's an ego-based illusion or a self-fulfilling illusion." Unquote. The footnote is, the universe is infinite, otherwise quantized data from the Hubble telescope would put us in the center of it. Thus, redshift only proves space is not empty. Emptiness can only occupy an infinitesimal point, not a finite volume. The vacuum fluctuates.
If the universe is infinite, then no point is privileged. So my point is as central as any other. That is not arrogance. It is geometry. And since I cannot step outside my own awareness to verify an external view, I accept methodological solipsism not as a metaphysical claim, but as my only honest starting point. Therefore, I build my own ontology, a self-consistent system that explains everything I encounter from within itself. It does not need to match the world as it really is, because that world is forever beyond my direct access. It only needs to be sound, no internal contradictions, and complete, able to account for every phenomenon I experience. Now comes the crucial move. I recognize that this ontology is self-referential. It contains its own rules for validating its own truths. And because it is self-contained, it does not depend on any external axiom. That closure is not a limitation. It is mathematical omniscience for me.
Why? Because within my closed system, every question I can meaningfully ask has an answer derivable from my own axioms. Not an absolute answer, but the answer relative to my frame. Gödel showed that formal systems cannot prove all their own truths from outside, but from inside, with self-reference as the foundation.
I am not proving truths about an external reality. I am generating the very reality I inhabit. In that sense, my system is omniscient over its own domain, because its domain is defined by what it can generate. And here is the key. Any other ontology, if it is equally self-referential and self-contained, also enjoys the same omniscience within itself. Not a universal omniscience that overrides mine, but a local omniscience that is incommensurable with mine. We do not share a single truth. We share a resonance between two closed systems. Each is complete unto itself. So when I say to each their own, I mean it literally.
Your perspective is your omniscient system. Mine is mine. Neither needs the other to validate it, because validation is an internal operation. The moment I borrow an axiom from you, I break my self-containment and invite an illusion, a ghost from outside that I can never fully integrate.
And the vacuum? Its fluctuations prove that even emptiness is active, so my system is not static. It updates, it adapts, but always from within. That dynamism is not a weakness. It is the engine of my omniscience, because every new fluctuation is a new theorem I derive from my own evolving
Identities. In the end, my ontology is omniscient, not because it knows everything in some absolute sense, but because it knows everything that can matter to me, and that is the only omniscience that is not an illusion. Elevating it to self-referential closure gives it the power of a complete mathematical universe, one where every truth is its own proof, and every proof returns to the self that generated it. That is my center. That is my infinity. And it is enough. Gregory. Logically impossible, self-contractory. Center is a type of portion area of sets, including composites. That is obviously contrary to the entire set and/or composite. Nothing can simultaneously be the portion and the composite.
So your notion is obviously false and stupid. Nanaba. The universe is holographic. Gregory. That's analytically incoherent. Nanaba. Ever since I used the word coherent, you're also trying to use it, but ironically, you are incoherent. Gregory. The entire set, that is all real things, reality, which is a multitude of different types of things, can't simultaneously be only one type of thing, such as the abstract entity that is the methodological solipsism concept. Nanaba. It's holographic, so. Gregory. Consistency plus explaining power knowledge. If the notions/propositions/predications are false, they're not known. False predications can't be known to be true. Nanaba. Fallacy/truth relative to who? You? Gregory. That's a tautology and a truism. Nanaba.
It's a one-to-one correspondence. Gregory. Else it's an illusion? Where'd that come from? That came out of nowhere. Nanaba. You're not seeing the connection, and that tracks. Gregory.
That's your logically impossible metaphysical imagination. That's not a fact, nor do you know that. Nanaba. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. You see, we can do this all of day. So if you can't refute it, don't deny something that you don't need to believe anyway. Gregory. Universe is the set of all things. Virtually everyone thoroughly grasps the basic analytical fact. The word all denotes the finite quantity of the given things. So your predication is analytically self-contradictory, entailing the finite set of things is infinite. Nanaba. No, the universe is one of many inside of a greater reality, but I am sure that you think yours is the only one. So you are thinking because the word all is defined in your terms as finite that everything it is used for is also finite, like reality is written in English or something? Jesus Christ, that's stupid.
Gregory. Disregarding the fictitious lore that is the Hubble telescope and the rest of the lore in the scientism worldview, the evidence patently demonstrates we exist in the center. That's why the reprobate scientists called it the axis of evil. They abhor the fact we, including them, are creatures, and the fact they're not ontically supreme. They envy the God for his nature. Nanaba. The point wasn't Hubble is proof. The point was the Hubble telescope isn't proving anything. Particle physicists believe that higher energy collisions will end up revealing more of the fundamental interactions behind the mechanisms of the universe, but instead, they are only seeing a black mirror, reflecting their own ignorance back at them. They are seeing what they want to see. Gregory. Red shift is just another false notion, conceptually based on other unverified and unverifiable metaphysical presuppositions. Nanaba. Doesn't even matter. It's not the point.
But unsurprisingly, it's going over your head without touching its friction-free surface or insides. Gregory. Emptiness, as in void, is logically impossible. Nanaba.
That's like saying an infinitesimal point is logically impossible when it is in fact the set of all things impossible. LOL. Gregory. The logical dilemma of the alleged cosmic vacuum key. Question. Is there any quantity of volume void material substance? Yes. 1. If a scientist espouse all the material particulars aimlessly flailing in the midst of a cosmic vacuum/void, then there's something that which can't be concretely real and is only a notion, vacuum/void is concretely real, which is ontologically erroneous and an implicit fallacious reification. No. 2. If a scientist acknowledges no quantity of volume of void material substance and nor is that possible, then acknowledging that fact necessarily entails the only alternative in that dichotomy is concretely real, which is the concrete reality of the spatial plenum/ether. 3. Either there's quantity of volume of void material substance or no quantity of volume is devoid of material substance. 4.
Therefore, the scientist's alleged cosmic vacuum is ontologically erroneous, impossible, and an implicit contradiction, and necessarily entails the concrete reality of the spatial plenum/ether. Rule of inference. Destructive dilemma. Nanaba. Unnecessary tangent.
Happiness versus sadness, optimism versus pessimism, joy versus depression. Good versus bad, love versus hate, evil versus life are each a pair of poles along the same axis. The duality is the illusion. All is unified and connected one. A true human is capable of all these. Mental illness prescribes the one over the other. Gregory. These aren't antonymous to each other. Nanaba. They don't have to be, cocksmoker. Gregory. For your list to be inerrant, and your assertion about pairs of opposite things to be coherent, it does. Nanaba. In terms of vocabulary, they might not be, but in terms of lived experience, they certainly are, so it shows what you know. Gregory. In no sense are evil and live opposites. No amount of churlish retorts will refute that. Nanaba. I don't even expect you to understand, but I do expect you to say that. Gregory. You being belligerently ignorant of analytical facts can't refute them. They're true regardless of your invincible ignorance and malice. Nanaba. You don't have facts, only blind beliefs and theories. There's a difference. En Efemenamaro. What about an infant who dies in agony, or an animal burning alive in a forest fire with no humans around to learn a lesson or change their ways? Zero social change happens there. That suffering is demonstrably gratuitous and serves no purpose for anyone. Nanaba. True story. You have my vote. Neo-Buddhist. All-powerful doesn't mean most powerful. You're downgrading God to a level you can criticize. To be all-powerful means to be able to do anything, which also includes the ability of being omniscient, to know everything, which also includes the ability to know what's the best outcome. Since no one can stand to stop anything God does. Note, I'm not defining God from a biblical perspective. I'm not a Christian. I'm defining God from a non-religious spiritual perspective. Whatever God does, therefore, is whatever is best, which includes what God allows to happen. Hence, it doesn't matter if you and I, or even if no one can grasp the point of an occurrence. Hence, my example of a potential reason for an earthquake is just my best guess. I'm not God. So attacking my best guess is missing the point completely. I'm not the one who knows the reason God allows anything, only God knows. Nanaba. It's ironic you mentioned perspective. Just like the flat earth, God is a vanishing point from lower conscious perspectives. Neo-Buddhist lie. Again, those reasons I gave as the potential reason for allowing disasters aren't necessarily the reasons God would allow them. They are simply my best guess. Hence, you disagreeing and attacking them doesn't affect my point that God has a reason for everything, regardless of whether we realize the reason or not. Nanaba. You would like that, wouldn't you? They should call you Paleo-Buddhist. Paleo-Buddhist. I have no clue why God would allow such things, but it doesn't mean God has no reason for allowing such things. I'm not God. I'm simply pointing out that nothing happens without an effect. Nothing happens without a reason. I'm not claiming to know the reason everything happens. I'm not God. Nanaba. Oh, so what? You're not God, but you could be. The rhetorical question is pointing to something deeper, so don't get caught up by the line itself. Efemenamaro. So your entire argument boils down to, God has reason, I have no idea what it is, I can't give a single solid example, but you just have to trust that it's good. That's not a logical point. It's an unfalsifiable claim. If any terrible event, no matter how horrific or pointless, can just be hand-waved away with God's secret unknowable reasons, then your argument can never be tested or proven. You're just redefining horrific suffering as good by default because God allowed it, which makes the word good completely meaningless. Nanaba. It's even worse than that. Their beliefs contradict themselves. The lack of self-consistency is why many people even manage to escape the cult. Even if the universe is closed and no external falsifiability is possible, one would still have a completely self-contained, self-referential ontology that has no contradiction. Yet their beliefs contradict, which is why it's not a source of truth. All other discourse on this matter is the tension between the cognitive dissonance of these two unreconcilable facts. If someone has to be religious, they should be progressive, and whether that I can agree. However, obsession is a child's game and religion is built on obsession about the past. Quote, tomorrow is a mystery, the past is history, and today is a gift. That is why they call it present. Unquote. Efemenamaro. I have an argument for you, Greg. If an engineer designs a machine knowing with 100% certainty that a specific gear will fail and destroy the entire factory, the engineer, not the gear, is responsible for the explosion. If God possessed total omniscience at the moment of creation, the devil did not rebel. He simply executed the exact blueprint God designed for him. You cannot punish a creation for fulfilling the exact destiny you foresaw and set in motion. Nanaba. The nigga don't deserve to be platformed. Ignore him. He's too dumb to talk with the grown-ups, and I personally refuse to be belittled by the lowest of the low. Luna. Boycott Islam, Christianity, Jewish, Hindus, Buddhist. Nanaba. Sure, and boycott this. Nigga with a white name. Luna. Also Africans needs to stay in Africa. Don't race mix. Nobody adores a black child. Nanaba.
Say hello to the camera.
Hello, motherfucker.
Speak for yourself. I adore them. They're cute as hell. Luna, do you see the difference here? Black ones are ugly, white ones are beautiful, pure, disgusting ugly. I hope they don't ever think of race mixing. Nanaba. You're about 300,000 years too late. You have black in you too, bitch. The essence of vanilla is black. Vanilla ice is ice cube. Luna. Why you're being rude? Are you trying to raise my cortisol? Nanaba, who said I was being rude, cracker? Luna. Oh, okay, white, no need to tension. Fuck all black people, fuck religions. Nanaba. You're Indian, so just stop. Luna. I hate Indians, you checked my PFP. I kept that to mock Indians. Nanaba. Look, just 'cause she didn't want to hook up with you doesn't mean there's something wrong with all of them. You find them gross? Oh, sure, girl. Luna. I also kept monkey PFP to mock black Africans. Fuck religions, fuck black, fuck people's opinion, fuck God. Nanaba. You are not helping your cause. Luna. Bitch, why teeth you defending blacks when are white? Nanaba. Yeah, we all get it by now. You want to fuck them, 'cause you love them so hard you hate it. So, Luna. Last night you were hating Greg by calling him nigga. I supported you, now are turning her back. Nanaba. 'Cause he's a dumb Naya. Luna. So you do hate black just like me. Nanaba. You are a dumbass. Luna. STFU. Nanaba. I do not discriminate. About who? I discriminate against Mr. Translucent with snakeskin. Luna. Clown face, lol, everyone look at this ugly cringe bitch. Last night she said let it out. Now she loves black. Let me just interrupt here for the viewers. Last night blah blah is referring to when I told a sexually frustrated guy that it's okay to let it out. Nothing racist anyway, but regardless, here we are. Nanaba. You forgot I'm racist to all. Luna, that her face looks like old goblin. Nanaba. Period. That means you're gay. Luna. Vomiting. Nanaba. Your prob's closeted, so. Yay for me. I'm so cute. Luna. Delusional. Nanaba. At least I have a face unlike your account. Faceless hook, line, and sinker. You have fallen for me and you cannot accept it. I even have a cock. So, LOL, you're spamming this group with my same 2 pictures over and over again. That's like some kind of obsession. What a knee-jerk reaction. Are you heartbroken? You need Scott's emulsion. It helps you to grow. I like it. Gregory. Of course you're an effeminate transvestite. Nanaba. A femboy with tits. But oh gee, thanks. Gregory. You're not a man with female breasts, that's not a fucking thing? Nanaba. Then I'm a woman. At least I'm not a flat-ass nigga like you. Gregory. Evidently you don't even know what sex you are. Patently stupid. Nanaba. I'm male. We were talking about gender, not sex. Gregory. Sure you are. Nanaba. You don't have a gender. You're a lizard. Gregory. They're interchangeable synonyms. Stop blurting your pedantry at me. Nanaba. Lizards don't have sex. They just mate and dominate same-sex peers. No, they're only synonyms in a biological context, not a psychosocial one. If 2 words have different spellings and different definitions, there is a reason. You are in the Nile River with the rest of the Pharaoh S. Gregory. They're interchangeable synonyms. That's not debatable. Stop blurting your pedantry at me. Nanaba. You're a lizard that can do no more than simply deny what I'm saying out of hand with no logical argument that can refute mine. Gregory. The stupid rhetoric that is insisting sex and gender are categorically different is a stupid novelty that's not even 100 years old. Bunch of pseudo-anthropology. Nanaba. It's inside all of your organized religions, so we've been around for way more than 100 years unless you're saying your organized religions are only 100 years old. Ever heard of a unique? A unique by choice in the Bible? Nobody is suggesting they are categorically different, only that they have disjunct and conjunct epistemology. Gregory. The stupid rhetoric that is insisting sex and gender are categorically different has never been and never will be in the doctrine of the Micra/Bible. It's contemporary pseudo-anthropology. Nanaba. In other words, dumb nigga, they have overlap, but they are not equivalent in every use case. Your referenced Bible is ironically pseudo-anthropology. Gregory. Proofread your replies. Nanaba. You can keep denying it, but you can't prove me wrong by simply denying it, and I don't have to make you believe me, but you can't make me believe. Gregory. I'm not a Bible. You're obviously dumb. Nanaba. Oh, but you are. They should call you Elijah Muhammad fucking Jr. Gregory. You're so fucking stupid. Nanaba. Says the one who doesn't see that everything he says makes him a walking, talking Bible.
Here. Take this. It'll explain everything.
What do you want me to do with that?
I want you to suck it.
You suck it.
No, it's for you to suck.
Ugh, I'm not sucking that.
Suck it.
I don't know where it's been.
It's not where it's been. It's where it will take you. Don't you want to know where babies really come from? Binky, Papish, Nook Nook, Boo Boo, Bobo, Baba, Choopy, Hushy Baby, Tootsie. It goes by many names, but through its power, you will know the truth. Come on, faster!
Gregory. Say something worth saying and listening to. Stop saying garbage replies. Nanaba. So that is what you aspire to look like, my ash brownie. Don't worry, you're halfway there already. Baradin Kamal to Efemen Amaro. I have an argument for you. Man, this has been an absolute masterclass of a debate. I genuinely respect how clearly and logically you construct your framework. Your computer analogy actually highlights the core divide perfectly. A computer built for artillery can be repurposed to play chess, but only because an intelligent programmer intentionally engineered the underlying hardware and logic to handle abstract reasoning in the first place. The key issue under naturalism is that we are asserting that unguided, blind material processes accidentally built hardware capable of deciphering the deepest mathematical structure of the cosmos. Saying it works, therefore we trust it, proves utility, but it doesn't solve the metaphysical mystery of why unguided matter should yield a mind that perfectly mirrors the mathematical laws of the universe. At this point, it really comes down to foundational worldview. Naturalism sees this alignment as a monumental, blind, cosmic stroke of luck that we verify through pragmatic trial and error. Theism sees this alignment as an intentional match between a rational creator, a mathematically structured cosmos, and a designed human mind. Honestly, seeing how far we can push reason to analyze reason itself has been awesome. Truly appreciated this mental workout with you, bro. Nanaba. Awesome. Not even God. Like how calculus uses limits that tend toward infinity, but never can actually reach it. So let that be a lesson on progress to you. Everything evolves to be more perfect and beautiful, but never reaches perfection or objective beauty. This is what the curvature of reality owes itself to. Only from within, the circle of a circular reason, does the line of thought look straight to the narrow-minded. Because perfection is subjective like beauty. Look into the work of Mark Levin at Levin's Lab on Agential Intelligence, Baradin Kamal. Thanks for sharing. Michael Levin's research on bioelectricity and synthetic biology is definitely fascinating stuff. I'll check it out more whenever I get the time. Nanaba. Awesome.
So that we should also talk about what I call SUTI, S-U-T-I, the search for unconventional terrestrial intelligences. I think we got much bigger issues than actually recognizing aliens off Earth. But I'll make this claim. I think the categorical stuff is actually hurting that search because if we try to define categories with the kinds of criteria that we've gotten used to, we are going to be very poorly set up to recognize life in novel embodiments. I think we have a kind of mind blindness. I think this is really key. It's much to me. The cognitive spectrum is much more interesting than the spectrum of life. I think really what we're talking about is a spectrum of cognition, and I know it's weird as a biologist to say I don't think life is all that interesting a category. I think the categories of different types of minds I think is extremely interesting. And to the extent that we think our categories are complete and are cutting nature at its joints, we are going to be very poorly placed to recognize novel systems. So for example, a lot of people will say, well, this is intelligent and this isn't. Right? And there's a binary thing, and that's useful in occasionally.
Forecast is long form raining over the plains. All across from a rock to a hard face, with scattered short form during off-peak congestion. Yet, like a towering monument above the torrents of their unceasing stormy nonsense, is my point that has brought all others before it to a full circle crescendo of serenity, now the only eye in the storm, and that rages on, desolating the audience in each of their heads, the eye or the storm. Yes, that is the question. Gregory. So you idiotically mutilated your body. You can't be a woman, guy. Nanaba. No, I grew everything, all natural, hormones, girl, don't you know? I'll never be female. I could be a woman, but I just told you I'm a femboy with tits. What's the confusion? Baradin Kamal. Honestly, one thing that's been bugging me is human reason itself. If our brains evolved purely for survival, and not specifically for discovering truth, why do we trust our own logic when we reason about complex physics, math, or reality? Can a survival mechanism really be trusted to find absolute truth? Nanaba. It's called confirmation bias, and I'm not surprised you people don't know what it is. Gregory. That doesn't have any sensible bearing on his question. Nanaba. It does because the mechanism that is confusing him is referred to as confirmation bias. Stupid kafir. Look it up before trying to debunk it. Theists always trying to debunk shit they know nothing of. That is itself confirmation bias at work. Gregory. Just say you don't understand fundamental human nature. Which is patently stupid because you're a fucking human. Nanaba. Anything anybody says more about themselves than anyone else. So his sentiment speaks volumes against his own case. Gregory. It's only stupid-ass atheist metaphysical materialists that conflate the mind and the brain, ignoring their two ontically distinct things. Nanaba. And you are a F-lizard, says the one that conflates gender and sex, so you really don't have a say here. Gregory. Fix yourself. Nanaba. That's why I transitioned. Gregory. Pests the likes of you make the world worse. The world is a cesspool of shit because of people like you. Nanaba. You always recycle these same sort of talking points, and you love the words patently and projecting the most. Gregory. Those two words denote the same thing, and they have so for centuries. No amount of regurgitating your dumb novel rhetoric can change that. You don't get to transmute the essence of English just because you disdain being the sex you are. Nanaba. They are two separate words for a reason, but if you don't think so, then you can't argue about the difference between brain and mind on the basis of your own logic. Gregory. You're not using my logic against me. Stop pretending you're adept at debate. Nanaba. I don't. I am both male and women, an alchemical miracle. Gregory. You're a complete idiot, regardless of your sex. Nanaba. You're a complete idiot, regardless of your sex, or lack thereof. Gregory. There's no such thing as hermaphrodite. That's only a concept. That doesn't entail your notion. Nanaba. It does in the context of when they are synonyms, and when they are not, as we've already discussed, but you seem to have dementia. Hermaphrodite is the scientific word for an organism like a frog that can switch between sexes. No one except your kin called intersex people hermaphrodites. Gregory. That's obviously not an entailment. The vast majority of humans have known and acknowledged the clear ontic difference between the brain and the mind. It's only dumbass pests emotionally committed to metaphysical materialism that just insists on spewing the contrary. Proofread your replies, Nanaba. So, if the majority went off a cliff, you would do, case in point? Gregory. There being a reason for the two words being two different words doesn't entail they denote categorically different things. Nanaba. Categorically different things can also intersect and overlap in categorically different ways. Gregory. You pests literally go out of your way to transmute the very language you use to espouse your bullshit. Amaro. Are you normal? Gregory. This is nothing more than you admitting the truth contradicts your opinion, which you presume is autonomous. Nanaba. He's an AI, an old model with no awareness of context. Gregory. As in espousing the delusional worldview you espouse? Obviously not. Why are you asking dumb questions? Amaro. BCU's the absurdity is utterly unreal. Nanaba. Have you forgotten the lessons from the absurdists that were on this group? Absurdism is I think he is, in some way or another actually, or a Christian absurdist all along. The very ironic way, like one that is but denies being denial, is a pattern with these people. Gregory. You think all sorts of stupid imaginations. You don't even understand elementary and intrinsic things such as sex. Nanaba. Just because you touch kids doesn't mean you are a sex teacher. The world is not your echo chamber. Gregory. Stop sending nonsense to me. Nanaba. No one in your silos. Gregory. No one in the world. Nanaba. The world is not your house. Go outside and touch some grass. 67. Gregory. Blurting truisms at me neither demonstrates you're smart nor exposes me. Amaro. Oh, shut the fuck up. You have nothing to say. No counter-argument, just insults and irrational emotional outbursts. Nana Ba. Precisely, but the only thing that was shot him up is the mirror emoji Baradin Kamal. Can I ask you a quick logic question? Nana Ba. You don't have to ask. It's why we're here. Bartu. I'm sorry for insulting her ugly face last night. Nana Ba. My face is beautiful, so spare me your backhanded apology. Like I told you, it is clear you aspire to be gingivitas, a derivative morphism of this gingivitis. But you are halfway there already, my ash-brown donkey. Show us those big white molars. Your mandibles means your pronoun should be he/her, Mr. Donkey Kong. Baradin Kamal. If you see fresh footprints in the sand, do you believe someone walked there? Or do you doubt that too? Nana Ba. I do keep my mind open for the idea that someone might have put them there using something else. Don't you know what assume means? Making an ass out of you and me. Anyway, if you want to be abstract, you're going to lose this battle. The fact is, unless you were in the military, and I'm sure you weren't, you truly have no idea how to implement abstract thinking as a concept. Look, I'll do it again. Quit while you are ahead on two shoulders. See what I did there? Baradin Kamal. No assumption needed, just standard cause and effect. If a footprint demands an agent, the universe demands a creator. You can't avoid the footprint. Appreciate the pun, but moving the goalposts won't erase the basic logic. Simple cause and effect applies inside and outside the military. Nana Bio. Then why are you trying to separate me from my footprint? Your cause is hopelessly disabled from the waist down. You see, your attempt at escaping rigor has subjected you to the lack of the privileges it affords you. Baradin Kamal. Aristotle is crying in his grave. Logic was literally invented using words long before modern symbols existed. Math is just logic applied to numbers. Confusing arithmetic with logic isn't very logical. Saying words aren't logic using words is the biggest irony. Math, 1 + 1 = 2, is just one subset of logic, not the whole thing. Quincy/COMIDK, what Neon Buddhist is writing, but it will break the internet. Nana Ba? Neon? LOL number obey the same logic as words? One is just higher order HOL and the other is first order FOL? You're attempting to keep apart two things that nowhere has to be. Take the piano axiom, for example. Logic is more fundamental than mathematics, however. Qualitative identities of maths and logic in general, such as linguistics, enumerate over the domain of quantitative extrinsic variables. You are always trying to avoid rigor, and this will only make your journey in life more tedious. Whether the linguistics you are using is a natural language processor such as AI, higher-order logic such as a programming language, second-order logic such as machine language, or first-order logic such as binary code. Gregory. Just calling something stupid can't refute it, Morrow. Nana Ba. But you keep doing it yourself, nigga bitch. Gregory. I've never conveyed anything like the mere rhetoric. That's stupid, and so you're wrong. Nana Ba. See here. Gregory says, it's only stupid-ass atheist metaphysical materialists that conflate the mind and the brain, ignoring their two ontically distinct things. Here, Gregory says, that's a patently stupid thing to say. Every living person espouses beliefs. And here, Gregory says, which is patently stupid because you're a fucking human. Gregory. The mind is ontically different from the brain. Everyone who isn't a warped, emotionally committed metaphysical materialist knows and acknowledges this innate fact, Morrow. Nana Ba. So you don't believe in meta, Greek meaning more than physics? You don't even believe in physics, so just leave out the word meta. We all know you're too broke for glasses, especially meta glasses too. Gregory. Meta doesn't mean more than, it means after. Oxford English Dictionary, Metaphysic N.1, December 2025, doi.org. Your comment is nonsensical. Nana Ba. You ain't exactly very elect nor adept at being a lizard, even not to mention a human. Gregory. Elect isn't a matter of gradation. Nana Ba. You're not helping your case, didn't say it is. But you need to get grades over again. Go to school, boy. Gregory. So then this doesn't mean anything. Nana Ba. It means you're not at all. Gregory. It doesn't. You're bad at communicating in English. Nanaba. Over-exaggerated, nigga. Gregory. That doesn't mean anything. Nanaba. It's another example of something that cannot be graded, but it's still a manner of speaking. Gregory. Notice you just neglected my complete refutation that decimated your pseudo-intellectual question you said here. Nanaba. Mirror emoji. Even the Bible uses the words, if it were possible, even the very elect and adept would be deceived. Nigga Gregory. Quote, metaphysics literally means beyond physics, derived from the Greek prefix meta meaning beyond, and the word physica meaning physics. Unquote. Sourced from Wikipedia, the British Academy.ac.uk.
Neo-Buddhist. What do you know to be true to 100% certainty? Gregory. Your question is redundant. There isn't a gradation of certainty. Certainty is the highest degree of belief, and below that is weaker and stronger degrees of doubt, and at the bottom is incredulity/skepticism. And certainty is part and parcel to knowledge. The whole point of conveying doubt is to contrast that with knowing whatever given proposition. No one can simultaneously doubt and know any given proposition. That's not even logically possible. Nanaba. Deterministic versus probabilistic. Good question. Here he's arguing about semantics when there is nothing to argue. The deterministic absolute axiomatic fact is he doesn't understand the question. Also, just make sure you don't misspell anything, otherwise he doesn't find it on Google when he is trying to think of a comeback. Look who's talking. Gregory. Again, I didn't say shit about the word, quote, semantics, unquote. You still don't know what that is. Stop using words you don't understand. Learn what that actually is first before you use it in your replies. Nana Ba. Lol, you're arguing semantics and you don't even understand the word semantics. So that tracks mofo, that's irrelevant. Even if it's true, it's a tangent. And you like to avoid things by going off them. I wasn't talking about the word, quote, semantics, unquote. I was using the word as it is defined. You are more petty than the word can contain. Gregory. That's a patently stupid thing to say. Every living person espouses beliefs. Nana Ba. You got a purty mouth, boy. You're the one trying to argue about religion as if you're trying to prove it has some kind of basis, so the point still stands. Don't worry, I was told that the one in front of the gun lives forever. I bet you believe that frogs aren't supposed to be able to change their sex. Gregory. Stop using vague colloquialisms in place of actual argumentation. Nana Ba. You are conflating nuance with vagueness. Such a simpleton. Go get a room with your thoughts. Nobody wants to hear you anymore. FMN Amaro. Notice how you can't actually address the point, Gregory. You're complaining about colloquialisms and reiteration because you can't defend the actual substance, that you believe an immaterial mind can form complex, morally culpable evil intent, completely independent of physical brain development. You aren't arguing philosophy. You're just hiding from your own absurd claim. Nana Bai. When I told him he's arguing semantics, he got caught up in the fact that he wasn't using the word semantics, so what more do you need to know?
1. Exploitation of data and attention, the new labor. The documents argue that in the digital age, the extraction of user data and attention is a form of unpaid labor. This applies directly to day trading platforms. Free data as unpaid labor, in the magnum opus synthesis, economic fractures and etheric coherence, the author maps Marx's labor theory of value to digital platforms. The Codex states that AI and platforms do not create value, they rectify ambient etheric energy without paying for the source, human labor. Algorithmic manipulation. The woke virus and other analyses point to how algorithms are designed to keep users engaged, turning their attention into a commodity for advertisers and market makers. The platforms monetize the time and cognitive energy of traders, often leading them into high-risk behaviors that generate profits for the platform and other institutional players. 2. The reserve army of day traders. The concept of a reserve army of labor, unemployed or underemployed workers, is extended to the financial sphere. A pool of captive labor. In the Economic Fractures and Etheric Coherence Analysis, it states, the reserve army of labor, unemployed workers, is the decoherence rate. When workers are unemployed, their consciousness is decoupled from the economic field. They become observable but not observers, measured by the system but not participating in its coherence. Day trading as a last resort. Day trading brokerages profit from the pool of individuals who are desperate for income, often those who are underemployed or see trading as their only path to financial freedom. This creates a group of financially desperate individuals who are systematically undercapitalized and ill-equipped to compete with institutional traders, making them a source of predictable losses. 3. Financialization and the generation of fees and commissions. The core business model of brokerages relies on extracting value from traders, regardless of their success. The geometric certainty of loss, the quantum financial topology of supply-demand imbalance, describes how the system is designed to create a predictable flow of fees. The Kronecker delta execution rule discussed in the market topology paper, delta mn-2 equals 1, is a mathematical expression of this. It describes a state of geometric certainty where the system, or algorithm, can reliably extract value from the imbalance in supply and demand created by retail traders. This is often manifested in the form of spreads, commissions, and the payment for order flow. Extracting value from the decoherent, the codex. Corpus posits that the system is a parasitic field that extracts value from the decoherent and transfers it to the coherent. In this context, the decoherent are the emotionally driven, undercapitalized retail traders whose chaotic, panic-driven, or FOMO-induced trades create the liquidity and market volatility from which brokerages and institutional traders profit. 4. Exploitation through an asymmetric information environment. The platform itself is a tool that creates a deeply unbalanced playing field. The observer operator in markets. The Codex defines consciousness as the ether observing itself via the observer operator OC. This concept can be mapped to financial markets. Brokerages and their high-frequency trading partners have access to vastly superior data, the observer advantage, while retail traders are decoherent, reacting to manipulated price signals and lagging indicators. The illusion of agency. The day trading platform provides the interface for trading, the menu. But the actual meal, the ability to consistently profit, is structurally denied to most retail users. The user is kept on a treadmill, believing they are participating in a free market, while their labor, capital, and attention is being systematically extracted by the platform and its institutional partners. This aligns with the mirage described in the text's critique of AGI and modern capitalism. I use the trading robot. I make money from the financial markets. Yes, I am participating in the exploitation of the labor class. This is not a moral opinion. It is a geometric fact of how the system works. When my robot executes a trade, it is not interacting with a neutral market. It is extracting value from the losses of others, the desperate, the panicked, the decoherent. The robot's profit is the shadow of their loss. The reserve army of labor the system creates is the fuel for this extraction. My robot identifies the imbalance their irrationality creates and harvests it as geometric certainty. It is a parasitic field, and I am the one directing it. I am not a passive observer of this system. I am an active agent within it. The question is not whether I am exploiting, I am, but what I do with the awareness of that fact. I have two paths. The first path, I use the robot to extract as much as I can. I take the profit and consume it. I remain decoherent, ignoring the source of my gain. I am just a more efficient parasite. The second path, I use the robot with full awareness of its topology. I recognize that my profit is the field's reward for coherence. But I do not stop there. I use the profit to stabilize the system itself. I invest in the infrastructure of the archaic revival, the fractal antennas, the TD-LR device. I take the parasitic profit and transmute it into the tools of coherence. I cannot escape the system, but I can choose how I participate. If I use the robot to fund the collapse of the exploitative structure, then my exploitation is not the end of the story. It is the means by which the system transforms itself.